I'll use mine and Pace's partnership. For some of you that know, we have, myself, Pace, and Matt in our partnership now together. I'm going to share when it was just Pace and myself so that you guys could have a better understanding of, what that did look like originally when we first came together. There's only a few different things that you have to do in your real estate business. Lead generation, you have acquisition, you have disposition, and then you have admin. But lead generation, that was a Cody job. And the reason that was a Cody job was because that is part of, running the, kind of that day-to-day of the operation. When we're talking about lead generation as an integrator, I'm looking at, okay, we need leads in our business. Where am I going to get those leads? And what sources should I be looking at? When Pace and I were looking at this, I would look at, do we have money to spend? Yes. So where is that money best going to be spent that it's going to be able to generate us the amount of leads that we need for us to hit our business goals? And so as an integrator, I'm looking at what are the lead sources that we can utilize? What are going to be the cost of those lead sources that we're going to be utilizing? And then from that, identifying how much we're going to spend based on our goal. And if you haven't already been doing this in your business, part of that is tracking where you're at in your business. So if you've never done a deal, it's hard to know what your KPIs are, which key performance indicators. Those are going to be the things that are going to allow you to understand what's working and what's not working in your business. So another thing that an integrator is going to be doing among the lead generation is tracking the leads. Okay, we spent this much money this week or this month. This is how many leads that we generated from that lead source. From that lead source, this is how many contracts we got signed. From the amount of contracts that we got signed, this is how many of those contracts actually closed and turned into money in our bank account. So now I can go back and look at, okay, we generated this many leads from this lead source. From that, we were able to contract this many. Of that, this many actually closed. So that's part of, again, what an integrator does. And so for those of you that maybe are visionaries listening to this, it's what you may need to have a virtual assistant help you track your numbers to make sure your numbers are being tracked, because understanding where you're at in your business and keeping track of your KPIs, those key performance indicators, is going to allow you to build a real business. If you're just running and gunning, you're not tracking what's going on, you don't really have an idea of where your deals are coming from, how your leads are coming into your business, you're going to run your business in a scarcity mentality because you're going to be stressed out. You're going to wonder, how do I get more deals? Am I doing the right things? Is my business working? Because if you don't know, that's what'll kill you, is not knowing what you're spending on your business. Acquisition. Who do you think was doing acquisition between Pace and myself?
I'm gonna go with Pace on that one.
Yes, Pace. I understood, and I would get frustrated when me and Pace started working together, and I would generate these leads. I would set him up on appointments. And then he would go to the appointment, maybe he'd get the deal, maybe it needed to be followed up with. Pace would never follow up. He just wouldn't do it, never would do it, never would call him back, never would do the follow-up. So how did we work through that? What I found worked really well for us was literally after every, whenever I was setting up, because we were doing in-person appointments, this is before we converted to doing stuff virtually. But when he would physically go on appointments, he would send me a quick video as he was walking out the front door. Here's what happened. Here's what needs to happen next. Here's when they need to be followed up with. Click send. And then I would update the notes, and I would be the one that would follow up, so that I made sure the leads stayed organized. And once it got to the phase of, they were actually ready to make a decision and were ready to convert it, I would see Pace back up for either a phone call or another appointment at that point to, convert that and get it over the finish line. An integrator understands how an operation, again, you're an operations person, has to understand what are the things that are causing the operation not to function as smoothly. And for me, it's not functioning smoothly when leads weren't getting followed up with. So I was generating the leads, helping follow up with those leads, teeing them up, letting Pace swing and hit those leads and get them contracted. And if they didn't, I would initiate continued follow-up to just tee them up, because it made it really easy for us that I didn't have to actually be the one to close the deal. So what I would do different now versus then is I would have just hired a lead manager faster. I didn't understand how to train them though. So I just did that job. So, that was just something that I didn't know any better. But now what I would have done again is I would have hired a lead manager to help follow up with those leads after those, appointments or phone calls, and re-tee our sales team up for those calls, which is how our operation works today. Is our sales team, their goal is to just get on the phone with somebody that is, close or ready to make a decision, and to get a contract. And then if they don't get a contract, to push it back to the lead managers and let them know that, hey, this, there still needs to be some more follow-up that's done here. When I'm saying leave your ego at the door, being okay that, hey, I kind of suck at this. Like when I reached out and, Pace and I originally started working together, like I can close deals. Like to this day, there's been occasions where I've had to talk to a seller and, resolve a situation, or, there's not a sales guy on our team to work a situation and I just have jumped in. It's not very often, very, very infrequently. Literally, it hasn't been since probably last year. But I'm not the guy for that. Like, it's like if you have, Kobe Bryant on your team and LeBron James, like, why are you going to bring someone from the freaking audience over there and bring them on the court and like, hey, do you want to try to, do you want to be the one to try to make the shot? It's like, why would I do that? Like, I got two superstars here. I'm going to let the superstars do their job, and I'm going to be over here doing my job. Like, I'm up in the tower, like watching down at the game, looking at the pieces on the game and seeing how I could rearrange the pieces and how we can, rearrange the plays and the opportunities that we're working on, and how we can make that more efficient. Like, that's what I'm doing. That's what an integrator is doing, is looking at the big picture of the operation and seeing how things could be rearranged, how things could be adjusted for more success. For Pace and myself, process-wise, I took over disposition. So when we were working together, like that was a Cody job in a way, where I was in charge of like sending out our emails to our buyers, sending out the texts to our buyers, and sending out like the organization of that process, like tracking, okay, we have this many days in our inspection period, just kind of keeping track of what's going on. But if there was ever negotiations that were happening with buyers where there were tougher negotiations, I had Pace handle those. So I didn't have to talk to the people, and I could just focus on the actual process of what we're doing. But if it was pretty standard, just pushing a file along to successful closing, easy assignment, I would just typically handle that. My job on disposition was making sure that the files successfully got to a close of escrow. Pace's job more so was like dealing with, again, a sales type conversation or negotiating, things like that. And I would just tee him up for those phone calls if needed as well. On admin, that was Cody. Outside of, lead generation, acquisition, disposition, what the heck is admin? Admin is managing your CRM. How is our flow going? Like what are our processes? Like, what does that look like? Like, what are our standard operating procedures? How are we hiring people when we start to hire? When you look at an integrator, they do most of the business, where they're kind of like, they're making sure the conveyor belt is here and it exists. They're putting leads on the conveyor belt, and then like letting their salesperson like attack the lead, turn it into a contract. And then once they've, got it into a contract, then the integrator systems, person or operations person is pulling that along to a successful close. So that's kind of like how that dynamic comes together between, integrator, operations person, and the visionary. You got to know yourself, like know what you're good at, so then you can, understand like what are some of the other things that other people can do. I'm sure some of you have heard Pace talk about this, like hugging toilets, where sometimes you got to just be the one hugging the toilet. Like you can't, like day one, unless you have capital, you're typically not just able to outsource everything and hire every position and have it just run like a perfectly fluid system. Like that's typically not going to happen at the beginning. So Do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. And that is how you graduate your business to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. Because at the end of the day, we all want to build our businesses to be at a point where we're doing the things that we enjoy most in our business and outsourcing the rest, whether that's via, startvirtual.com for virtual assistants, whether that's hiring somebody that's a salesperson that works, directly in your office with you, whether you are a husband-wife team and you're dividing and conquering. That's what I want to, just reiterate is like, do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. It's something I see people use as a crutch is, I'm a visionary, so I'm just going to always be unorganized forever, and I'm just unorganized, so I can't be successful. Like you can't do that. You just have to do some of those things that maybe aren't in your strength to start until you can get to not to do those things. Like that's just part of it. Like when I was doing this all on my own, I was doing every one of those areas. Like I was doing acquisition. I hated doing it, but I was like, well, it has to be done, so this is what I'm doing. Until you could find other people to help you, like that's going to be the big key, guys.